Okay, this time round we're going to be talking batting. Obviously there's some ideas and some thoughts on how to be more consistent and play better cricket. It's not a game of perfection. Of that, there is no doubt. But you do have to give yourself the best chance, and by giving yourself the best chance, it comes from how you hold it, how your feet get into position, how your weight goes. Okay, so first of all, let's look at the grip. A lot of people used to talk about the fact that all you do is you put the bat down and you pick it up. That's a good starting point, okay? But I'm going to take it a little bit further and give you an understanding of why you do certain things. I see a lot of kids grab the bat like that, okay? It's not a great position to be in, and they'll just be able to play little punchy shots, okay? If you're going to open the batting and you want to bat on a bouncy surface, that might not be a bad option. But if you can see, if I stand side on, it's very difficult to extend my arm past that point. So that's as far as I can go, okay? So that's why it's very restricted, and I wouldn't promote that at all. In the old days, the days when my uncle and my dad used to play, they used to get their hands right around here. Now what is the advantage of this? You can see that you can release your bat the whole way, right? You can release your bat absolutely the whole way down the line. And in cricket, we want to try and present our bat as straight as possible for as long as possible. But I'm not for one moment suggesting that is the way you have to hold the bat, because in the modern day, the ball comes nice and quick, and maybe the adjustment on the bouncy surfaces, this isn't going to be easy. My thought process would be to try and get the V going down just behind the back of the bat, okay? That's into a nice strong position. You can get your elbow nice and high, and you can still play down the line, and you can see it can get past the parallel, right? So I've got a full swing of the bat. You see how long the bat stays on the line, presented straight down the line. That's perfect, okay? That would be my suggestion for you. I see a lot of kids around here. I would suggest sliding it to down the side of the bat, okay? The bottom hand, what you want it to do as well is to work straight down the line. If you see some strong guys, they hold it like this. The bat comes inside the line, and it's very difficult to present it, and it wants to work its way to the leg side as well. Some other people will hold it a little bit open, right? And they come in from the outside, and it cuts across. So once again, what we want to try and promote is this bat coming straight down the line for as long as possible, okay? How do you do that? I used to try and get the V to go down the back of the top of the pyramid in the bat. That makes it easy for you to be able to present it. So it's that position there which makes you hold it. And a lot of the focus is on those two, maybe that 3 fingers, and you can present the bat straight down the line for as long as possible. The next thing is when you get into your stance position. We don't want any stiff stick figures when they get into a stance. We don't want to be in this upright position because it's very difficult to move from there. There's no movement that they can achieve. We also don't want you to be too squatted because that's also difficult to move. So you need to find the happy medium where you get your legs into a position where you're able to move forward, back, be able to play your different shots, okay? So that's the comfortable. Nice and upright, heads and eyes parallel to the ground, looking into the position. See, a lot of batsmen, they start off in this position. By the time the ball's bowled, they've got their head into that position, which means they fall into the offside. Some also have got their weight back, which means their head's floating back. They're never going to be able to get their weight forward over the ball. So what you want to do, level head as much as possible once the delivery is bowled, and have your head tilting slightly forward. Because in general, the ball's going to bounce, so you can play towards it, whether you're on the front or on the back foot. And before we move into our rhythm movements, which is a lot of players, you'll see them moving their feet to get into a position where they want to play. What position do they want to get into? I'll put in the boxing gloves on because that's probably the best illustration. If I said to you that you were going to punch someone, okay? You want to give them the best punch that you can possibly do. The force that the boxers get into their punches is remarkable, but they have to get themselves into a really strong position in order to be able to punch the individual, okay? So a strong position is not back here where all their weight's on their back foot and they're trying to punch from there. That's very weak, right? They also wouldn't be leaning over to this position or leaning over trying to punch straight back down the line, okay? So the position they want to get into is a nice strong position. They want to get into this position so that they can hit the guy with as much force and get as much force coming through their body. It's the same in the game of cricket. The ball comes from straight down the pitch. You want to get your body into position where you can hit that ball, whether it's off the front foot or off the back foot, with as much power as you can possibly possess, right? So that's a strength that you have to have. If I'm going to punch someone, and I'm punching this way, okay, I won't wait with my hands here, because if he punches me, I'm going to be too late. So if I'm trying to get myself ready to punch, I get my arms or my hands back into a strong position, ready to go, right? So when he pulls the trigger, I can just hit, okay? If I have my hands here and he pulls the trigger and I've got to pull my hands back and then get them forward to hit him, I'm invariably going to be too late. As you're waiting there, you can get a little bit nervous, and a lot of people like to move before the bowler bowls. You sometimes run from 15, 20 meters. It's difficult just to stand there waiting for the delivery. I personally like to try and stand as still as I could, just tap my bat, get a bit of rhythm going from that process. We see a lot of people today do the rhythm movement where they get their foot initially, the right foot into that position, and then they set themselves and they're looking to play. For example, Aidan Markham, he gets into position early and likes to stand there as still as he can for as long as possible. That's one that I would suggest copying. Faf du Plessis, for example, his bat goes up to the right-hand side, and then he gets to look to boot his feet once the guy gets to the crease. Hashim Amla stands in position early, and then we'll do a little bit of a swirl of his bat just before he's looking to play. What you have to do is you have to get yourself, you can do Fred Astaire before the guy bowls. As long as you get into the position, as he delivers, you get into a strong position, your head is still, your weight is slightly forward, and your eyes are focused on where the ball's coming from. I would suggest that by the time your rhythm movements are done and you're looking to play, that back foot, basically perpendicular to where the ball's coming, parallel to the crease, and this front foot, I'd like it to be slightly open. The reasons why I'd like it to be slightly open is if you get your leg into that movement, right, in that position, you can't move forward, okay? There's no way, it's almost locked, it can't go anywhere. All I do is swivel it around and have a look how much further the knee can go. I can go forward, I can go back, I can make adjustments. I can also, if it nips back, I can move my knee to this side, or I can move my knee to that side. I can make adjustments. If I'm here, I'm stuck. There's absolutely no place you can go. Get your bat up, as about to bowl, get your hands into the position where you want to get in that strong boxing position, open the front leg slightly, weight leaning forward to touch, watching the ball as closely as you can, and your legs a little bit bent so that you can move either way that you have to do. If you have to duck or move to the offside, move to the leg side, you can make those sort of adjustments. Okay, we've worked out the grip, how we want to start with the stance, how we want to do our rhythm movements, and where we want to get our hands to a strong position before the ball's bowled. Another little point I'd like to add about that strong position, if you do take your hands back here, what it does tend to do is it tends to set this left arm really in a strong position, right? Whether you're a golfer, tennis player, soccer player, everyone gets into a set position. That's a soccer player. Tennis player gets into a set position. Golfer gets into a set position. You want to do the same as a cricketer. And if you do take your hands back, I think that sets it into a nice position. If you're out in front here, you can be flimsy. You can go either sort of way, and you can get yourself into trouble. Okay, so we're all set. You're ready to go. Wait for the delivery. As the delivery is bowled, you want to make sure that because the ball's coming straight down the pitch from 22 yards away, it's variably coming from a pretty straight position. Most of the shots you'll play will be off the front foot or off the back foot. So you want to present your bat as straight as possible. As I mentioned with Faf's rhythm movement, he's out here, but eventually by the time the ball comes, he gets into a strong position to be able to present his bat nice and straight. Hashim's the same. He'll start here, he'll get a bit of a flick to the wrists, and then he also present his bat straight down the line. I've got a piece of string that I've put here that's on 5.5, 6 meters where it's pitched, and it's the perfect delivery. So the bowler's delivered it, it's ended up, top it off, okay? That's the ideal delivery. So all the bowling coaches will tell the bowlers, please practice this kind of delivery, okay? So as a batsman, this should be the toughest to play. So you've got to make sure your technique-wise is getting yourself in the strongest position, giving yourself the best chance to be able to deal with this kind of delivery. Okay, we'll put the normal bat away and we'll grab a hold of this bat, which I've managed to cut just down the middle, okay? If I'm taking my bat on the inside, okay, when I'm trying to present it, if I'm just perfect, I'll get into the position to hit the ball. If I'm late, you can see it's going to miss the outside edge and hit the stumps. If I'm early, it's going to miss the inside edge and hit the stumps. The same is the case if your elbow flies and you take the bat out there and you want to try and present it back in. You want to keep the back elbow nice and tucked in. But if it flies and you come in here, if I'm late, the ball's through. It's into the stumps. If I'm perfect, I'll be able to hit it good. And if I'm too early, I'll miss it on the outside, okay? If we have our technique where we work to make sure that the bat comes through nice and straight all the time, if I get it into that position here, you can see if I'm late, I'm still in a good position. The ball's just going to hit me sooner than I thought. If I'm perfect, I'm going to absolutely middle it and hopefully hit it back past the bowler. And if I'm early, I'm still going to be in the right position to make contact. Okay, so the moral of the story is you want to try and present your bat as straight as possible for as long as possible. Okay? The only other thing that can upset this equilibrium and you being able to play down the straight line is your feet. If you get them into the wrong positions, they can cause you some major trouble. Okay, we've talked about getting the bat coming down as nice and straight as you possibly can, and only your feet can really get you into any more trouble. So what we're going to imagine is that this bat that I've got in my hand is a train. Okay, it's coming straight down the line at a serious velocity to meet balls that are bowled at 140 to 150 kilometers per hour. We want nothing to get into its way. Okay, we understand that. Here's what I call railway lines. Okay, we'll see two poles on either side, and I'm going to show you how all these different railway lines work. So if a ball's bowled straight down the pitch, straight towards you, you want to play off the front foot, you plant your foot into that position, okay, and look to play straight down the railway lines. What you'll notice is that there's nothing in the way of the bat. The bat is being presented, that toe lines up with that line over there, and this toe here lines up with that line over there. There's no obstruction. I'm not planting my foot across here and now trying to hit that ball, right? That's how you get out LBW. That's how you get yourself into trouble. Your momentum is moving that way. The train wants to come straight down the line. It's going to cause a crash, okay? Invariably what you have to do is have to get your bat out to adjust, and that's where the problems come. You might say to me, okay, well that's easy when the ball's straight, but what do I do if a ball's outside off? We're going to have a ball here that we're going to hit through the covers. It's the same process. I'm going to work to Habajan here now. I get into that process where I'm looking to drive. You might say, okay, well, I've closed yourself off. But if we come and look at this camera, we'll see that we haven't closed ourselves off. We can see the railway lines are still open. The bat comes slightly inside, and I can present it straight down the line and whack it through the covers. No problem there whatsoever. It's the same thing if I go off the back foot. If I get into this position here, the railway lines, once again, don't cross over. I can present the bat nice and straight and knock it through the covers. More difficult when you get to the leg side. We stand in a strong position here, waiting to come, and then the ball slides down the leg side. We want to play it. Sometimes you see the guys hit their pads. You've got to learn the art of sliding that foot out the way in order to open up your railway lines again. You can see from that side of the toe to that side of the toe, there's an open gap. I can present myself, whack it through the leg side. So we open the toe, down the leg side it goes, right? Same thing on the back foot. I can clear this leg out the way in order to give me the ability to punch it through the leg side. Whether it goes behind square or not, it doesn't really make a difference, okay? That's how key it is. Whether you're off the front foot, you've got to open those railway lines. Whether you're off the back foot, you've got to open those railway lines to make sure you give your best chance of hitting the ball nice and straight. You want to ideally hit it as late as possible. And the other thing you need to work out is that these hands, I sometimes see guys standing with their hands open like this. They need to try and work in unison. They need to try and work together to give themselves the best chance. If you open handed like this, that hand initially starts, so that hand can take over, right? If you're nicely and close together, they work in unison to try and work out and play the shots. Very good drill to do as well is to do one-handed drills. You put the bat in the one hand and you hit balls with the front foot, off the back foot, then you change to the bottom hand, front foot, back foot, you play cut shots, you play pull shots, you play all the different shots, and what you'll learn is what hand needs to dominate. If you're off the back foot, that hand needs to dominate, because if this hand dominates, it's going to whack it up in the air, right? When you're in a half volley, this hand can take over because it's got power. When you're playing square of the wicket, this hand guides, and the power comes from that hand, okay? So a very good drill is to make sure you do the one-handed things. It helps you teach you to play the bat nice and straight. It helps you to teach you not to get your feet in the way. It helps to teach you to which hand you should be using and which should dominate on certain shots. Those are my thoughts for batting. As I said, there's no perfect way of doing it, but there are different options that you can apply. But the moral of the story is you've got to come up with the technique that's going to give you the best chance of making contact when you come across the best players that you're going to play. Hope those thoughts help. Always food for thought.